Welcome back into League of Our Own for another week with myself, Goran Paladin, and the icon, Adam Blair. Blairy, as always, awesome to be in your company, mate. How have things been this week?
Yeah, really good, Goran. Busy with rugby league, but it's an exciting time of the night and pretty late for you again. We always say it, but man, the game that never stops giving, rugby league.
I'm hopeful that throughout the course of this chat, we don't have a Penrith Panthers trainer run through the middle of us, because, mate, that would be devastating for you and I and everybody watching or listening. It'd put me off my game for sure.
One of our kids might just zoom across with a yellow shirt on.
Yeah, but what will they do? Put off the kicker, squirt water on the ball, or call the referee, hey, we've got a player out, he's injured. Yeah, absolute nonsense, mate. $50,000 and 5 games for the trainer, eh? What an absolute nonsense.
Yeah, not good enough. Not good enough, Goran. I saw that, man. And, we've seen a few things. You just mentioned those few things from the Penrith Panthers, and I understand that they apologised. And I understand people got mixed emotions around it, and some of them think it's too harsh, or some of them think it was a pure accident. I mean, our game of rugby league, we all know the rules. We all know the rules. We all know what we can and we can't do.
That's not an accident, is it?
Yeah, let's just hit us between the eyes and tell us the honest truth. But this is what rugby league does. It creates headlines, it creates stories, and this has been a big headline, especially over here in Australia. But the punishment's been out, and there's mixed opinions again.
Yeah, well, that's in Australia. Let's focus on things in New Zealand, Warriors-specific things. We'll talk a bit about the team that's been named to take on the Bulldogs on Saturday night, 9:35 kickoff here in New Zealand against the Dogs, who'll be desperate to turn things around after their devastating loss to your old team, the West Tigers. Listen, what we need to talk about first of all, though, Blairy, is where the Warriors could potentially be come kickoff in that game. The vagaries of the NRL draw mean that by kickoff, they could be out of the 4, they could be 5th, they could be 6th, they could be even as low as 7th by the time the game kicks off, because you've got the Broncos playing the Melbourne Storm on Thursday. The Panthers play your Newcastle Knights on Friday. Saturday afternoon, the Sharks are up against the Dragons. If all those results go the way of the Broncos, the Panthers and the Sharks, the Warriors could be 7th, mate. And the sort of mental pressure that puts on them before a ball is kicked in anger against the Dogs of War, far out, mate. Where could they be at the end of this round?
Yeah, that's a hard one to take, I guess, as a fan. Goran, just because, to be honest, the Warriors have had a pretty consistent year, until I feel like Luke Metcalf goes down. And I'm just going to be honest, I feel like Luke Metcalf played a big part in where the Warriors sat at the top of in the top 4 and got them to the top 4 position. Wade Egan's been a big part in it, and I've spoken openly how important Wade Egans is to the Warriors. I think Chanel's had a really good start to his season as well, and I said at the time, and it might have been even round 12 or 13, that the Warriors are in a healthy position because their spine is healthy. Now they've had a few injuries to some key players in and around their spine. I think we even spoke about the next month of their football, and how if they got these wins, they could be sitting close to the top of the table, competing for that 1 and 2 spot, or holding their position in the 4. And now we're talking about where they may finish off after this weekend. And 7th position is a big fall from grace when you think about their performances that they've had this year. I think the last couple of weeks have been a real noticeable, change in where the competition's going right now, because they're competing and people are coming for positions. So it'll be hard to see them, I think, going to be 7th. I'm going to think, and I guess this one's for all the fans, we're hoping that one of those teams lose so that the Warriors don't end up in either 5th, 6th or 7th. So again, it's all on, I think, to be honest, it's the Warriors just need to win games, and you need to be in that top 4. Whether they don't win or not, they need to put themselves in the best position so they give themselves at holding down that 8th or that 4th position and be able to get that second chance come finals. Because we're getting to the end now. We're getting to the end of the competition and the game's only getting harder. There has been some upsets, especially over the weekend, especially those top 4 spots. But the likes of Penrith Panthers, they are biting and nipping at the heels of the Warriors. So they're going to come up against a Newcastle Knights team. The Warriors are going to come up against a hungry Dogs after their last performance. And to be honest, the Dragons and Sharks, Battle of the Beaches, could be anything. Could be anything. So I like where this competition's going. I love that that I reckon, the competition this year is wide open for someone to grab. It's wide open. I think the Canberra Raiders got beaten as well from the Dragons. The Storm haven't been playing their best, I think. So it's an opportunity for anyone to grab this. But let's hope, fingers crossed, that they don't end up at the 7th position, Goran.
Yeah, well, the Storm were the only team inside the top 4 that won last weekend. Every other team, the Warriors, the Raiders, the Bulldogs, they all lost. And so it was an opportunity missed for the Warriors to get closer to the top of the table. But they find themselves closer to 8th position, unfortunately. I've got to give a bouquet to you because I suppose this just speaks to your qualities as a player and your knowledge because of your 15 years worth of experience in the NRL. Because when you rewind the tape about a month and a half, 2 months ago, I was counting the competition points that the Warriors were about to bank and trying to get them to the top of the ladder, maybe even a minor premiership. But you were pumping the brakes and you were saying, listen, they haven't done anything yet. Yep, they've had a great start to the season, but you do not win the competition in March, April, May. It's September and October where it really counts. And what we're seeing now is a huge number of injuries to the Warriors are really affecting the combinations and the quality of team that Andrew Webster can select. And on the back of 2 home defeats, because that's what we've seen the last couple of weeks, a loss to the Titans and then a very close, disappointing, agonising defeat to the Dolphins. And the Warriors are losing games that maybe a couple of months ago we predicted that they would win. So, this is what happens, mate. And I bow to your superior knowledge and your expertise in the game, mate. I shouldn't have gone off early. I shouldn't have done it.
You don't have to bow to me, Goran.
I am.
Like everything in the game of rugby league, I am a realist. I am a realist, and I know how tough the competition is, and I know how important, I guess, key players are to every single team. And not only the Warriors, but everyone else in this competition. So I was just, I guess, being real about the outcomes and where they can end up, and hoping that, like you said, they finish higher than what you all counted our chickens too early. So again, this is the competition. I think it's the hardest competition to win, and that's why when you think of the teams like the Penrith Panthers and what they've been able to do, then you've got to applaud such a strong club and being able to keep all those players on the field to be able to compete at the right end of the season. And like you said, the Warriors are down on troops, down on leadership, down on quality, especially in obviously losing Metcalf, Mitch Barnett. You've had Fish in and out of the season. You've got some of your centers, Rocco, Alilatoa, who haven't been playing this year at least consistently. So you got a lot of people missing in this puzzle, but the most important people, I think, to any team is your spine and having them consistently on the field. And the Warriors are down 2 of those guys.
Yeah, mixed news as well on the back of team naming, because you see that Chanel Harris-Tavita comes back, but then you also see that Wade Egan is out indefinitely with a shoulder, and we've spoken numerous times throughout the course of the campaign how key Wade Egan is. We saw Sam Healey play some pretty good football against the Dolphins. He's a runner of the ball. He loves support play, doesn't he? He loves to be there for the offload, and he makes meters off the back of that. But completely different players. He's almost more of a lock and waiting, if you know what I mean. Somebody who could back up Erin Clark. But so mixed news. But I want to give a bouquet also. I think I gave you a bouquet earlier, but I want to hand one out to Coach Andrew Webster on in the lead up to the game against the Dolphins, you and I had a chat behind the scenes about the potential for moving certain players, and we kind of went against voicing it because there were so many players out injured. We thought, putting our coach's selection cap on, that it would be too many disruptions to an already disrupted side to put Taintua Piki at fullback and move Charnze to the centres. But that's exactly what he did. And so, you and I are just one podcast. We are two people that have our say about team selections week after week after week. And there must be thousands and thousands of Kiwi League supporters that probably say the same things, whether they're saying it publicly or behind closed doors. Andrew Webster is a man under the pump every single week with whatever he does. But I got to say, hand on heart, he absolutely nailed it with his team selection against the Dolphins, didn't he? By moving Tane into the 1 and giving us the New South Wales Cup spine, by putting Charnze in the centres and swapping Adam Pompey over to the other side of the field to help out Dallin Watani-Zalesniak in his defence. You put the old-timers, Charnze and Roger, alongside each other. Everything seemed to click. Everything looked a lot more stable and solid, especially with Kurt Capewell, Mr. Fix-It, in his regular role of back row. So my hat's off to you, Webby. You did an awesome job, and it's just an absolute shitter that they didn't get the 2 points at the end of that game. That would have been devastating. But yeah, what a ballsy move from Webby to pick the team that he did going up against the Dolphins, mate.
Yeah, I think next time you and I need to back ourselves a little bit more, Goran, and voice our opinions. And this is why we have our podcast, to throw up those kind of ideas, isn't it? So I reckon we missed the trick. So we missed the trick because we didn't back our thought and our processes of trying to come up with some ideas on what he would do. But at the same time, Andrew Webster, like you said, masterstroke. I know they didn't get the win, but when you think about the moving pieces, everyone fitted into the positions that they needed to seamlessly. And when I guess why we thought what we were saying off before we did our podcast the other day, I saw Tane on the bench, and the only position Tane has been able to cover this year was obviously wing and fullback. They had their two wingers there, but like we both said, it was I guess a massive moving puzzle to put everyone out on the field, but he done it well. Put Adam Pompey, who I reckon is mostly one of the strongest centre defenders in the competition. He's a bit of a no frills centre. He's not your Stephen Crichton's, but gets a job done defensively, puts the old stages, like you said, together. Roger and Charnze, who just covered up that side of them. Taintua Piki, I thought he was enormous in the game, and we've seen him have outstanding games this year. So we definitely know that he is the fullback, and to be able to nearly get across the line, they'd be disappointed, the Warriors. But I think at the end of the day, they see the positions fit to the people that they're doing, and to be able to move Pompey across Charnze into those positions, I thought it was a great move from the Warriors. But I reckon there was some big conversations during the week.
Yeah, there must have been. It says a lot about the character of Taintua Piki as well. In the immediate aftermath of the game, he was downcast. He felt personally responsible for the concession of the try that handed the 2 competition points over to the Dolphins. He said that he got sucked in going too far over to the right-hand side, that he wasn't able to get back to the left to stop the Dolphins scoring that match winner. Basically 79.5 minutes of brilliance from him, and he's focused on that and how he could be better in that moment. I thought it speaks a lot to the character of the guy. And while we're talking about fullbacks, well, come centres now, Charnze Nicoll-Klokstad, he was Andrew Webster's favourite. Last year it was kind of, we can't move Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He is a centre. He is a centre through and through. This is our project, and he finally relented. Charnze was kind of like the final relaxing of the rules that Andrew Webster has put in place for himself. And I think it's for the betterment of the side, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's definitely bigger picture thinking, Goran, and sometimes I think these are the things that challenge you as a person and as a coach and as a team, is that sometimes you have to put aside someone's or your decision that you've made on someone for the betterment of the side or the group to be able to be successful. And I thought, this is the first time we've seen, I don't remember him moving out of the fullback position, that he's moved him into a position to fill the void of being for the team to be better and stronger in those positions. And it would have been a massive conversation for sure. But when you think about it, it shouldn't have been a hard decision either, because he's played centre before at international level. He's done a job. He's done a job. So the only person really he was moving was Charnze, who everyone else just obviously fitted into their positions. Obviously, put the experience centre with obviously Dallin helping him out with some of his decision making and stuff like that, and just kept Roger and Charnze together. And obviously, Taine just slips into his position. So it wouldn't have been like, when you think about it now. When I think about it now, I don't think that was a huge decision, but it was the right decision they made for the betterment of the team.
The only other time I can think of that Charnze was moved out of fullback was that game against the Panthers. Yeah, where he played 6 with Tamari, and they beat the Panthers, right?
He was good that day too.
Yeah. But it just goes to show, like, he has versatility as well. He can play well across a multitude of positions. And so when you've got Taine, who can play fullback so very well indeed, if there is a gap, maybe, like in hindsight, maybe if he made the call a little earlier in the season, where do the Warriors sit at this point? Instead of putting Kurt Capewell in as a centre, what about using Charnze earlier in the season in that position? And I know that there were, for example, Dallin was out injured for a long period of time, and so Taine had to play on the wing.
Yeah.
So he wasn't available to play fullback. But I'm just thinking, in hindsight's always 2020.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it now, it just makes sense, doesn't it? It just makes sense, and that is hindsight. So he's obviously okay with backing them up and playing in those same positions, and he's comfortable, and he's put them back out there again. So there's always a plan around what they do, and they seem like this is the team that's going to get a job done against, again, some strike centers that they have, the Dogs.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Bronson Cherry with all of his pace, and the best centre in the game, Stephen Crichton, as you mentioned earlier. Can we talk about Warriors wingers? And the last few weeks we've been not going to town on Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, but we've been talking about him because the fan base have been going at him. I want to talk about his performance against the Dolphins shortly, but let's continue to hand out those bouquets, because Roger Tuivasa-Sheck deserves one. The last 4 games, he's run in excess of 250 metres every game. And last time out, he ran for 335 metres, 27 runs for those 335 metres. The guy is a freak, man. And now that he's finished with that centre experiment, and we've got him in one of his favourite positions. If he can't play fullback, you put him on the wing, and this is what he can do. And I'm starting to think, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, as you tried to do earlier in the year, going off early about the Warriors and their prospects. But even though Roger has missed 6 games through injury, is he likely for the Simon Mannering medal? Is he likely for Dallin Winger of the Year? Like, that's the kind of form that I'm seeing from Roger. We've been so obsessed with what's going on the other wing and whether Taine Tuopiki should be there instead of Dallin, and Dallin has performed like a busted ass most of the time this season. We've kind of almost largely ignored this guy who's just going about his business, and his business is red hot. How do you feel about Roger's prospects for winning gongs this season?
Well, that's the thing, Goran. He hasn't had all the attention around him because everything's shifted to the opposite wing or team performance. As an individual and someone playing on the wing, I think he's done an outstanding job. Yeah. I guess what he's going to bring and what he's going to deliver week in, week out. If he's playing fullback and wing, you don't know what you're going to get when he's playing centre. So at least when you're playing fullback, he's going to touch the ball at least once or twice every kick return. Every kick return, he may catch a ball, takes a hit up. The opposition, the fullback may take a carry, then he's going to get the next one. So he's getting nearly 2 carries a set, which is when Roger is at his best day. When he was playing centre, barely touched the ball. When he did, wasn't really running lines, really hard to beat some of the better centres in the competition. But he's stepping, mate. He's still moving well. He's still stepping well and stepping a lot of players and breaking tackles and clocking up meters. He will. I think. Like, to be honest, I can't go past Brian To'o and what he continues to do consistently when it comes to the NRL space. I think Roger is close behind him, pushing for that wing of the year for sure in the game. I don't know if I know too many other wingers, that are maybe Coates. You know what I mean? A couple of those guys, but I think Roger's in the top 4, definitely in the top 4, and he'll get a special mention in there as well and be part of that voting group, I reckon. When it comes to the Simon Mannering Award, definitely. But I think there's another warrior in there that may put his hand up for that one, Goran.
Does he wear 13?
He wears 13. I think Erin Clark's been enormous, and I don't think he's put a foot wrong. I don't think He hasn't put a foot wrong this year. He's turned up with, I guess, a reinvigorated mindset where he's just for me, he's a ball of energy every time he carries the ball. And he was damaging again against the Dolphins at Go Media Stadium. The way he carries the ball, the way he bounces off players, his footwork, his speed, his offload ability. Like, he's in a lot of the things that the Warriors do. And we maybe all thought losing Dylan Walker would be hard to replace. Losing Tohu Harris,
that's right.
You know what I mean? Would be hard to replace. They're playing a style of football that helps someone like Erin Clark, where he just carries strong. He plays a bit of shape when he needs to, then he runs when he needs to. He's doing a good job at what they need him to do. So, to be honest, Goran, I'm going to say Erin Clark's going to get that one.
Okay, yeah.
The Simon Mannering Award.
What an incredible story that would be, to come over from the Titans where I don't want to be disrespectful. He wasn't a first choice player for them. Okay, he'd worked hard over a long period of time, but they were happy to let him go. The Warriors have been very, very happy to pick him up, and you mention it. No Tohu Harris, and then Dylan Walker leaves mid-season, and you think, maybe this is going to break Erin Clark because that was the 1-2 punch. Well, turns out he's just a knockout blow in himself, isn't he? He's a devastating overhand right personified. He's been absolutely fantastic. And so if he is awarded the Simon Mannering Medal, he would be, fully justified in receiving that accolade.
Yeah, he's clocking up. He's clocking up more minutes than he ever has. He's clocking up measurably career high meters and doing things that he haven't done previously at his last club. So I think he's a new person. He's got a new lease of life, and he's enjoying what he does. I think that's the biggest thing with Erin is he loves what he's doing. He gets a shot at the end of last year to be a part of the Kiwi squad. He debuts. And I don't think he's looked backwards. He's earned everything that he has right now, and there's no doubt. I reckon, they continue deep into finals, hopefully for them, and he plays a big part on going right to the end as far as they can go, and he will end up with that medal, I think, for sure.
Okay, so we've got Erin Clark edging RTS for the Simon Mannering medal. Let's talk about the other winger, though, because I did make mention that we would talk about Dallin's efforts, and last week we kind of mentioned that maybe he's received this stay of execution because of all of the injuries, and Webby couldn't cover removing him from the team, So he gets an extra game. He gets a bonus game, if you like, against the Dolphins. And he probably produces his best performance of the year.
Definitely.
And our prediction was that if he makes a good fist of it, then he can continue on that right-hand side. And he does. He's playing this weekend. He's been selected again. And so on the back of his most run meters, he scored 2 tries. He had 2 line breaks. You've got to hand it to the guy. I think whether he listens to the criticism or not, he's definitely responded. He definitely bounced back after a very disappointing effort against the Titans, didn't he?
Well, we spoke about Kurt Catwell, and we did speak about some of his imperfections and what he's been doing in jamming and stuff like that. And we did say that I wanted to see him with an actual centre, someone that can defend well, someone that can help him make those decisions a lot easier. We also spoke about how the inside pressure from the middle of the park needs to help those guys. And I thought to start off the game, Goran, and I'm watching Herbie Farnworth, who we spoke about that left edge, and I'm thinking, hold on a minute, it looks like Herbie's playing against kids here. You know, he's breaking tackles, he's poking his nose through the line,
scoring tries,
and scoring tries. And I didn't think that Dallin was doing too much wrong either when he scored those tries. Dallin was there ready to make tackles. He just didn't make the tackle. I think he got a shoulder there, but he didn't wrap his arm and never made the tackles. Then Herbie Farnworth would come off his left foot, which he can come off both. Scored a try himself. But at the same time, when Dallin found himself in the right positions 9 times out of 10, I thought, Cody Nikodema, the pass around the corner, you know what I mean, straight to Dallin's hand, the effort to put himself out there to grab that ball. So most of the times when we've watched Dallin, he's come past the ball, so it doesn't give him a chance to be in that passing lane for that pass like Cody has. So there was plenty of more highs than lows from Dallin, but I think that's the Dallin we all know. That's the Dallin we all know. That's the Dallin scoring tries. That's the Dallin being better defensively. But it does help having a stronger centre or a person that plays a centre as that's their position, so that it gives the confidence to Dallin on the outside and the trust that, hey, I've got Adam Pompey next to me who can actually keep things a little bit steady and calm. We're actually working a bit harder from the inside, so my decisions are made up easy, so I don't have to actually shoot out and make those rational mistakes. But I thought, yeah, like you said, Goran, his best performance, and like anything, I think it's only normal as human to hear the noise. You know what I mean? It's only normal as humans to hear the noise. But at the same time, you're a professional athlete. You know what you're doing right and wrong and how to fix these things. And I thought that was a good example of a professional athlete that's of high quality getting his job done to help the team try and get the results.
Yeah, and we're giving out bouquets left, right, and centre. One to Dallin, Roger, Erin's got one, you got one, Webby did as well. Did we give one to Charnze? Well, you can have one as well, CNK. But here's a brickbat, and it's not for a Warriors player, because they talk about bouquets and brickbats. So we're going to hand out one of those things to Mr. Kaufusi from the Dolphins. He is a seriously experienced rugby league player. He has 220 first grade appearances to his name. He played for a bloody long time under Craig Bellamy, one of the best coaches in the game. You know that for a fact, Blairy. And to go out there and attack the legs of Jacob Laban in a 3-man tackle, call it a cannonball, call it a hip drop, whatever you want to label it as, and break Jacob Laban's leg, fracture his bone in his lower leg, that was a bullshit play. And then to only receive 2 games suspension, that just adds insult to injury. I expected a hell of a lot more from a seasoned professional like Felise Kaufusi in that moment. And we've been talking, and it's not just you and I, but everybody who loves the great game of rugby league has been raving about hip drop tackles and third man in tackles for a bloody long time, Blairy.
Yep.
And then it happens like this, and we've seen a devastating injury. We might not see Jacob Laban for the rest of this season, and that would be a great shame, because he's a young player with enormous talent, and he can help the Warriors go deep in season 2025. What was your initial reaction to the tackle and then the subsequent punishment that Kaufusi received?
Oh, I think you said it, Goran. It's for a player of his caliber and for the amount of games and seasons he's played in the NRL, he seems to find himself always in these positions. And I think he spent a fair bit of his time on the sidelines for some of his contact, and then obviously just of late the Jacob Laban. I thought when I first saw it, that's a hip drop.
Yeah.
First initial thought watching it, and then the next thought was, I hope Jake's hasn't done anything bad, because anyone that falls in those positions with someone coming in that hard onto the back of the legs, you always think, oh, it's syndesmosis. That's automatic. Nearly 8 weeks on the sideline, automatic now these days with the way I guess the weight that people put on the back of it, the force that they come in with, and the way that you land, that's an automatic, thinking, oh, geez, he's done his ankle here or something. But to hear that it's broken, and then and then also to hear that it's only 2 weeks, I know, Goran, we've spoke about this in the past as well on the podcast. When you give someone a time on the sidelines for the outcome of the injury. And I think this is most probably one where I reckon you most probably can.
I think you can too.
I reckon you most probably can. Man, if he's 6 weeks, you're 6 weeks. If he's 8 weeks, you're 8 weeks. You
eye
know
for
what
an
I mean?
eye, mate.
I think maybe in this incident, because it's a broken leg or a fracture to a lower limb, I think you can nearly give him time for the amount of time that Jacob's sitting on the sidelines. And I don't like to, obviously, we don't want to give people time just because of the result of the injury. But I'm thinking, come on, man, this guy's experienced. He's been around the game long enough. Like those things, whether you're tired or getting lazy or getting sloppy, there's no excuse. You have a duty of care when you step on the field to look after the opposition in any sort of tackle. I know that for a fact.
Okay. Yeah, you do. Cast your mind back, because my memory is a little bit dusty, and I think this was something that took place in a Warriors reserve grade game, where was it Freddie Lussick running through in what I view was accidental contact with Lachlan Ilias, broke his leg. Now that for me was an accident.
Yep.
But what we saw from Kaufusi versus Laban, that was a grubby tackle, which has broken his leg.
Yeah.
So I think you can sort of differentiate between the two actions, and you can say, well, you can almost not almost accept it, but if it were to be an accident where someone suffers a broken limb or something to that effect, you could just punish the act of the tackle. But when it is an illegal action like Kaufusi produced, I think you can therefore punish the outcome. Yeah.
We end up going. We spoke about all of this going last time, and I think you end up going down rabbit holes. There's too many grey areas.
We've got time, mate. It's a podcast. We've got no commercial obligations, mate.
There's also always all this confusion on what a hip drop is, and then if we're punishing people for the outcomes, then do people sometimes say, oh, well, it's worse than what it was? You know what I mean? When it comes to these outcomes. And if the Warriors had come out, say, the day after the game and saying it's broken, then maybe the result is different for the times on the sideline. But because maybe the result of the action was told the next day when the charge comes out, and then now we hear that it's a broken, then we're going, oh, he should have got as much time because it was a grubby act, because he's way more experienced. So I just think it ends up going down a rabbit hole, and there's too many blurred areas, and everyone already has all these opinions on what a hip drop is and don't know the rules, and even the yellow shirt trainer doesn't know the rules. So if he doesn't know the rules around what it is or what it is not a hip drop, then we chuck out all these ideas. The fans are going to get confused too. It's unfortunate.
We're already confused, mate. We are already confused.
It's so unfortunate for Jacob because he is a young prospect coming up. And for someone of the experience of Kaufusi, I think that he should know better to be better in those positions so that we aren't losing, either our elite athletes or our up-and-coming aspiring ones.
It sort of opens up a wider conversation, though, Blairy, around what the NRL and the match review committee and the judiciary are doing when they hand down punishments. Because when you go, Kaufusi, you get 2 weeks, but then a trainer in a yellow shirt that ran in front of a kicker gets 5 weeks. Ezra Mam and what he did gets 10 weeks. It really is difficult to grasp how they're adjudicating on different issues. And I know you're sort of comparing apples with computers, with furniture. Like, none of it is the same. But they've got to come up with a system where the punishments are appropriate for the action that has taken place. Yeah, now, I suppose these sorts of discussions have been taking place for probably years on end, and I don't know if we're ever going to get to a place where we're happy with what they do. But, in the last few weeks, we're seeing these huge discrepancies with punishments. So just who's going to hold the NRL to account and fix this?
Well, I think like they've done, they're punishing for the action at hand and what they deem illegal or not illegal, or what they deem as there was intent. If we're talking about all these actions, if we talk about the Stephen Crichton high tackle, you know what I mean? One Safar gets 10 minutes, Crichton gets put on he just gets a put on report or a penalty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And whether he slips or not, and there's mitigating factors, you still made contact with the head. You know what I mean? So, it's forever changing. I think sometimes we don't know, and I think you listen to the commentary and the players on the field, they're saying 10 minutes. It doesn't matter where he slips or not. You still made contact to the head. So I think at the moment everyone's confused. But when it comes to those kind of actions, I think the NRL are judging on purely the action at hand, not the result of the outcome.
But then sometimes they're not even judging. When Philip Sami's diving over in the corner for a try and Brian To'o hits him in the head, and the bunker can't even identify that. So, this just feeds into our frustration as rugby league fans, doesn't it? Because there are discrepancies all over the place, and then you've got something like a stiff arm in the face as a guy's trying to dive to score a try, and they can't see it.
That's
on replay, they can't see it.
That's a try every day of the week. Like, that's a penalty try every day of the week.
No kidding.
Like, we can all see that. You know what I mean? We can all see it. How can you not? How can you have let's say 20 cameras rolling, and you can't see the action of someone hitting him across the head to score a try, and then say, his foot was out, he wouldn't have scored the try anyway. He was hit before he even went to the ground.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the frustration of everyone, and including us, is then, do we actually know what's right and wrong? And if those tackles are legal or not, or if head contact's different because he slipped, but you still hit him in the head. You know what I mean? So I think it's, and we go back to that Jacob Laban tackle. Yes, it wasn't a good look. Definitely not. And for someone that's experienced of Kaufusi, it's bad. And then the outcome is now Jacob's on the sideline with a lower limb fracture, and it's unfortunate. This is the game they play, but sometimes some others' actions deserve to have more time on the sidelines, because it'll deter them away from getting themselves in those positions moving forward.
Not sure why we're bothering at this point, Blairy, because we've had no joy at all, but time for Betcha This Happens for round 23. Shall we just get straight into it?
Straight into it, man.
I'm picking an upset, first of all, Thursday night. It's the Melbourne Storm at home, $1.50. I think the Brisbane Broncos will do, something that the Warriors don't want them to do, which is beat the Storm in Melbourne. So I'm backing the Broncos at $2.60 in my first bet of the multi. Got anything to say about that? Your two former teams doing battle?
Broncos normally play pretty well down at Amy Park. If the Storm were playing them up at Suncorp, definitely are hiding.
Strange.
But I think, I think the Bronx might get a win here.
Okay, so if they do get the win, then remember that forces the Warriors down before they play the Bulldogs. The next game, the Newcastle Knights are paying $3.75. The Panthers are heavy favourites, $1.28. We'll go with the Penrith Panthers for that one.
Mate, it'll be flooded. It'll be flooded here. They won't be able to get on the field. We'll take the win.
You reckon? Okay. Canberra Raiders, $1.46. Looking to bounce back after their shock defeat to the Dragons. They've got the Manly Seagulls this weekend who are paying $2.75. Ricky's Green Machine to get things back on track. Dragons, $2.75. Sharks, $1.46. This is another result that the Warriors don't want to see the Sharks win. I'm going to pick the Dragons, buoyed by that effort against Canberra last week. So go the Drags and King Gutho. Dolphins are paying $2 to beat the Roosters, $1.82. Roosters for me. How about you?
Yeah, Roosters for me. I think they're going to lack a bit of firepower. The Dolphins, so I think Roosters will be too strong. They've been pretty consistent, the Roosters, since they've been in that top half of the competition, so they'll be hard to beat.
And now we come to the Bulldogs and the Warriors. The Dogs paying $1.42, the Warriors $2.90. And you know what? I'm going to get on it. I feel like I saw enough from the Warriors last week against the Dolphins. Injury depleted, the personnel changes, as we said earlier, really, they did a great job. With all of those players out, then you bring back Chanel, you bring back Dimitrik, the Fish, and I think they could probably get the better of a Bulldogs side that they don't have the potency that they have had previously in the season. The back three are a little bit, well, it's not as strong as it could be because they've moved Carraz to fullback in the absence of Connor Tracy. They don't have Marcelo Montoya, the guy with the best name in the NRL. He's no longer there. So there's the lack of threat in the back three, and they don't really know what's going on in their halves either. Talk of Lachlan Galvin having injuries. Maybe Toby Sexton comes back in. So I'm going to say it. I think the Dogs are there for the taking for the Wires.
They'll be disappointed in their performance going the Dogs, and the coach will be riding them this week. And yeah, if there's a time for the Warriors to get him, it's now. And I think they'd be half a chance.
And the best thing about that, if it does come to fruition that the Warriors beat the Bulldogs, it doesn't matter, as The Rock used to say on WWE. It doesn't matter if the Broncos, the Panthers, and the Sharks all get wins. If the Warriors beat the Bulldogs, they maintain their spot in the 4, and that's what we're here for, right?
Nice.
Gold Coast Titans, $1.48. South Sydney Rabbitohs, $2.65. Let's keep the Rabbitohs on the bottom of the table, shall we? We'll back Des and his Titans, $1.48. And then the final game of the round, it's my beloved Parramatta Eels, $1.64, and they're hosting the North Queensland Cowboys, paying $2.30. It'd be rude not to pick the blue and gold, eh?
Yeah, they'll be too strong. Too strong, Goran.
All right, well, let's have a look at that multi. It is paying $171.17, mate. So I'm going to put a slide dollar on that, and we'll see how we fare.
Let's go. Let's go.
Always bet responsibly using the Betcha app, R18, and fingers crossed, Blairy, we actually get one in round 23.
I'd love to, Goran. I think we've tried so hard this year that everything something's just got to give sooner or later, and just back ourselves. I think that's what we've done.
Yeah, back ourselves and back out of this podcast. We're done. Thanks so much for your time, mate, on League of Our Own.
Awesome.
As we always say, like and subscribe and share our video if you know somebody who loves Kiwi Rugby League, who loves the Warriors, and they're not getting this in their ear holes. They're not checking out myself and Adam Blair. Come on, mate. Do them and yourself a favour and share the love, eh?
Awesome, Goran. I appreciate you, brother. And yeah, like always, man, share and like all our stuff and subscribe.